Hello, good evening everyone here. And thank you all for coming to the 2025 Fall Semester Town Hall. In this town hall, we hope to address many concerns that a lot of students have. We'll be going over issues such as student refunds, housing, and a few other things. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and introduce our Chancellor, Dr. Anthony Graham.
Good evening, everyone. First, let me say to our students, thank you so very much for two things. Number one, for your presence here. I know we are live streaming, so we want to make certain that we are also attending to the students who are virtual as well as the students here in person. And number two, thank you for advocating for this conversation. Part of what I want to ensure that I'm always doing is listening. I say all the time that I am in a servant leadership role. And I can't serve if I don't know what the needs are of the people whom I'm charged with serving. So thank you so very much for advocating for this conversation. So to that, I want to transition and invite our Student Government Association president to the microphone so he can welcome you this evening as well, Mr. Arian Wallace.
Okay, thank you everybody. My name is Arian Wallace. I humbly, graciously serve as the 104th Student Government Association Executive President this year. I want to thank each and every single one of you, faculty, staff, administration, safety and security that we have here. We have Mr. Courtney Jackson, we have everybody here. Shout out to our DJ here, which is kind of this new concept that we're trying to bring in with our town halls, make it a little bit more festive. This administration, of course, is different. If you don't know, this is Student Government Association Week. We're not hosting any fun parties or anything like that because in our Constitution, it says that we are to govern, to listen, and to make change. And so with this Student Government Association Week, we'll have our Senate meeting, we'll have our President's Council meeting because it's all about communication and getting things that we need to make sure that this administration is focused on the E word, experience. If we can make sure that each and everybody's experience here is better on campus, we'll start to see a difference in what it can do for this university. So thank you all for coming once again and give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you, SGA President, Mr. Arian Wallace. I am now going to flash something up on the screen if we can here. I want us to level set in terms of what the intent of the conversation is this evening. So, number one, I want to make certain that we're on the same page with respect to respect in the room. So, we are engaging in the conversation, but we want to make certain that we're doing so in a respectful way. Number two, we are here to ensure that we are listening more than we're talking. So, we're going to share information, but we also want to make certain that we're hearing from you. So, please ask your questions. Make your points, make your suggestions. Where it's feasible, we will respond. Where it's not feasible, we will say, that's a good point. We need to take that back and listen and think a little bit more about what it is you've shared. So the conversation tonight is intended to be just that. It is a conversation. Leadership is not a monologue, it's about conversation. And that's what we intend to do this evening. All right? So we're going to flow with what you see before you in terms of our objectives. And the segments of conversation will follow in this order. First, you're going to hear from me a little bit more. Chance Conley is here. He's going to interview me for a little bit to talk about strategic direction for UAPB. Then we'll transition out of that conversation, and you'll get a chance to hear from Provost Stewart and Dean Dorsey. We're going to talk a little bit more about 15 credit hours and how to manage your free time. You're also going to hear from Vice Chancellor Carla Martin, who's going to engage us in conversation around student refunds and what's been happening with our student refund situation and what we need to do to get better in that space. And then you're going to have some opportunity to hear a little bit about campus safety and what's happening in the residence halls. At the end of each of these segments where we're having these fireside style conversations, you'll get an opportunity to ask questions relative to that segment. After we've gone through these 4 segments, we'll have about 15 to 20 minutes of open dialogue. So we can answer questions and talk about any types of issues on the campus that are of concern for you and to you. Sound good? Everybody ready? Okay, so let's transition, and let me get this microphone over to my good friend Chance.
So once again, I'd like to thank you for being here, Dr. Graham. So with that being said, we do have, well, I have two questions for you. So the first is, what exactly is the long-term vision for the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff? And what is the focus of your administration for the academic year?
Yeah, great question. And again, thanks, Chance, for doing this. First, let me say that the focus of this administration is what you see on the screen before you. It is all about your success, period, full stop. The thing that I care about most, and the only thing that's on my agenda, is what do we do to make this institution better for you? That's it. So in terms of what happens in the classroom, what happens outside the classroom, if you're on campus, what's happening in your residence halls, what we can do to make this experience better for you and ensuring that we're preparing you for your futures. That's what I'm after. So in terms of the institution's vision, I say this all the time, I want this institution to become a nationally recognized, preeminent land-grant institution. You will notice that I didn't say a nationally recognized HBCU. I want us to be the best land-grant institution on the face of this earth. That means we've got to do some things to get us into that space. The first thing that we've got to do is make certain that we're really paying attention to your success. Because if we're not doing that, nothing else matters. The other thing that I'll point out to you, and you'll see a screen there for you, there are 5 pillars that we're paying attention to. Pillar number 1 is student success. And in that student success pillar, there are a couple of indicators that will let us know whether or not we're moving in the direction we should be moving. Number 1 is our enrollment growing. If you're a preeminent institution, people want to join you. People want to come to the institution from wherever they may be. So do we have enrollment growth? Number 2, are we retaining you semester after semester, year after year, with you making progress towards your academic degrees? And then number 3, are you graduating in 4 years? Student success is pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is about student preparedness. Getting a 4-year degree is the floor now. We've got to do a lot more to ensure that you are prepared beyond just having a 4-year baccalaureate degree. We have to make certain that we have engaged you and immersed you in internship experiences, that you've had the opportunity to study away or study abroad, that we have immersed you in research opportunities. We've got to do a lot more to make you competitive at the point of graduation. Because when you leave here, you're competing with people from North Carolina A&T State University, you're competing with people from Howard University, you're competing with people from Harvard University, you're competing with people from Stanford University. We've got to ensure that you have been prepared to compete, and not only compete, but have impact once you leave this institution. And then the other pillars I'll run through very quickly: academic degree program quality and return on investment. Are you getting your money back for the degree that you sought to earn here? So by the time you're 30, are you seeing return on your investment? Employee excellence. Are we bringing to this campus, and are we investing in the people around this campus to do their jobs to serve you at a higher level and be more impactful in what they do? And then research and innovation. Are we taking what we're doing and turning it into research and making a difference? So these are the things that we're paying attention to in terms of moving the institution to achieve preeminence. But it's all predicated on that screen, student success. Everything we do starts and ends with you.
That's great. That is great. So, following up with that, I know this is a question that a lot of us have had, especially with changes with administration and things like that. What are other forthcoming changes, and how will you and your senior administration include the student voice in those processes?
Yeah, great question. This is part of what we will continue to do. We have to create forums, we have to create avenues and mechanisms for all of our students to have voice in what it is we do. We have ideas, but you are helping to drive what we do, because student success begins and ends with you. So we have to make certain that we are not only creating these mechanisms, whether they're student advisory councils or whatever it may be, but we're creating the space and opportunity to engage with you, talk with you, listen to you, learn from you, and hopefully you learn from us. So I've said to President Wallace, let's make certain that we have standing meetings. So monthly, President Wallace and I are meeting. But I also want to make certain that I'm having standing meetings with the SGA leadership team. So I will be meeting with them monthly, buying them lunch once a month, so that I can hear and engage them over food. Somebody just made a face. I didn't know that. Yeah, I'll be paying for your lunch once a month. But I've also challenged and charged the senior leadership team to do the same. So the provost should be meeting with our student leaders. The CFO should be meeting with our student leaders, so on and so forth. But it should go beyond just the senior leadership team. Department chairs, deans, so on and so forth. We're here to serve. So it is imperative that we hear your voices and that we engage you in conversation. So as I've been telling people, tonight is not the first and only time that you will get to engage me and the senior leadership team and others. By design, we're going to make certain we do this in a very intentional way.
That's great, Dr. That is great. So with that being said, we will open up the floor for about 2 minutes for any questions that anybody may have.
And don't be shy. Please take full advantage of this evening. Ask questions, make comments. We want to hear from you.
Y'all asked for this, by the way.
There's a microphone on the left side of the room, your left side, so if you have questions and comments, feel free to come up. And I also want to make certain that we're monitoring the online platform, so if anybody's sending any questions or comments electronically, please let us know.
Okay, with that being said, if we won't have any questions, we'll go ahead and move on to the next segment. Thank you, guys.
So now we will bring up Vice Chancellor Martin and Mr. Casey Rowland.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Casey Rowland. I serve as your SGA Executive Treasurer.
And I'm Carla Martin. I have the pleasure of serving as your Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration.
All right, so we have the chance to talk about everyone's favorite topic, refunds. So everyone always wants to know what's actually going on with the refund. Where is my money at? Where is my money going? What's going on? So I am honored to be here with you, Dr. Martin, so we can talk about a few things. I know that the Student Government Association office and a couple of other students have reached out in a couple of few ways to try to figure out what's going on. So I have a couple of questions. We can talk about some and get some answers, okay?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the university issued a statement on Wednesday, October 29th, 2025, indicating that there was a delay in the student refund process. So can you share with us what contributed to the issue for that?
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. First, let me say thank you for reading your email, because if you hadn't read your email, you would not know that Dr. Graham sent an email out addressing the issues that we were having between two divisions. In that communication, Dr. Graham talked about the fact that we were dealing with three very specific issues. One, we had turnover. And when I say turnover, we lost individuals to retirement who had been long-time individuals on this campus, who knew financial aid like the back of their hand. So we're dealing with the loss of some long-term internal information. Second, if you've been in student financial services, you know that they are short-staffed in there. What you used to see in that area, in people and personnel, you don't see that. So there has been a decline in the number of employees who are working and processing your student financial aid. The third thing that happened was we were dealing with the integration of new software, Workday Student. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with Workday Student, and you are adjusting to it just like we are. And so when you take those three ingredients and you mix them all together, you did not get a beautiful pound cake or UAPB peach cobbler like we are accustomed to. And so that's what happened. Those are the three things that contributed to the issues as it relates to financial aid. Now, in Dr. Graham's email, he also talked about the fact that we've put parameters in place to ensure that that does not happen again, and we have. The first thing is we've got to have better communication. Like, there can be no assumptions from one department to another about who does what, when it will be done, and how it will be done. We can't do that anymore. And so we got caught in poor communication between those two departments. We've addressed that. We've also set parameters in place to be able to ensure that when a student receives an email from Workday saying that a loan has been disbursed to your account, that doesn't mean that we have the money in UAPB's bank account. That means that the federal government has cleared you to be able to receive, and that they have posted the money in the portal for UAPB to go in and draw down that money for you. And until we draw down that money for you, we don't have that money in hand. Once we draw down the money, then we can initiate the process to release the funds to you if you are eligible for a refund.
Appreciate that, Dr. Martin. You kind of tagged on my second question a little bit.
Well, ask it anyway.
Well, because we know that the university's strategic priorities for this academic year is to improve our efficiency, can you talk with us about the steps that the university is taking or plans to take to improve this going forward? Because I know that this is our first semester in what you said with the transition of everything that's going on. So I'm assuming that there's a plan going into next semester or for future endeavors to avoid this?
Well, one, we have a plan for we initiated a plan to clean up where we messed up. And so when we look to what spring looks like, one of the things that we are doing is making sure that students know what they are eligible for at the beginning of the semester, really before the beginning of the semester. So students, we're asking you to complete your financial aid paperwork. Whatever they ask you to do, do it, get it in, communicate with the federal government. Whatever needs to be done, we are asking you to do that immediately. When you do those things, then that means we're able to post your awards faster. The other conversation that we had internally is, if you have a university scholarship, you can't email financial aid in October saying, give Jane Williams a scholarship when school started in August. Like, we've got to do better internally. And so we've put out that call, we've had those conversations. We actually have what we call a deregistration council. And that deregistration council is made up of individuals across the campus who are looking at ways to improve the student experience, President Wallace, on this campus. And so one of the things that we are going to do, we're going to have 3 critical touch points, for lack of a better phrase. The first critical touch point will be in December. December 15th, I believe, is the date, where students who have not completed their financial requirements will be dropped from their courses. That will give you an opportunity to know, I have not taken care of my financial responsibilities. So you will have an opportunity to re-register, to get your finances in order, set up a payment plan, accept any pending loans, whatever you need to do financially, you will have that grace period to do so. Then in January, before you can move back into the dorm, because now we're going to make you have a schedule. You want to move into the dorm? Where's your schedule? You have your schedule? Welcome home. You don't have your schedule? That's motivation for you to get that done and take care of your financial responsibilities. If you haven't done that before the dorms open, you will be purged from your classes. The third touch point ties directly to the last day to drop and add courses in January 16th. If you have not set up a payment plan, completed any financial needs from federal aid, you'll be dropped again. That will be the last drop on this campus, which means by 11-day reporting, we are reporting full, accurate numbers as to the students who will be fully financially and academically enrolled in this institution. So I know this is new information for some of you. This is a pilot that we're going to do because you got to start somewhere. And so this is our start. And then we are soliciting, I'm asking for feedback from each of you about how this process will work in the spring. So you may have a pleasant experience, but it may not be that great for you. So I'm soliciting feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that we can fine-tune something for our students that's beneficial for everyone.
Okay, appreciate that. So I have another question. So it's a two-for question. So one, where do students go if they have questions about their student refunds, payment plans, and who can they contact more? And with the pilot plan that y'all are implementing, will there also be essentially the same framework for students that come here in the summer session as well?
So we're still working on summer because there's such a short period for what summer looks like. So we've got to fine-tune those dates based upon the academic calendar. But yes, summer is going to be one of the semesters that we look at how do we control what this looks like. For questions, there are a couple of places you can go. One, if you have a question as it relates to your financial aid, federal money. If you have a question about internal scholarships. If you have a question about Arkansas Higher Department of Education scholarships, the teacher scholarship or the challenge scholarship, you are going to go to your financial aid advisor. That's stop number one. When you need some additional assistance beyond what your federal financial aid advisor is providing you, then you're going to see Mr. Smith in student financial aid. If you have questions about your account, you go to student accounts, and that's Miss Rainisha Totten. Miss Totten is dealing with awards that come from the USDA, that comes from Arkansas Rehab. So if you have any kind of manual award where somebody is sending a check on your behalf, that's when you ask those questions to student accounts. If you have questions as it relates to a scholarship that Mr. Fuller, an institutional advancement, is providing you, that's one of those scholarships where you have to write a thank you note to get that award. You all know about those. Then you will direct those questions to Mr. Fuller. And between those three departments, we will work together to be able to respond to students' questions and or concerns.
I appreciate that, Dr. Martin. All right, so at this time, we're opening the floor for any students that may have any questions, or faculty or staff. Mr. Wallace.
How you doing today?
Very good, and how are you?
Good to see you. I just have one question. The rest of the questions we'll schedule a meeting to continue the conversation. The question is really about short staff. We've been having this constant conversation over and over and over again about the Office of Financial Aid being short staffed. I think that goes and contributes to the experience of students when my financial aid, when I go to the office, is at the front desk because the lack of short staff. So my question is to you, what are the, you said, parameters being put in place to address this short staff issues, and what does the hiring process look like for the Office of Financial Aid? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. One, I believe in staying in my lane. And financial aid is not within the Division of Finance and Administration. It's within the Division of Enrollment Management. So one, I don't want to overstep my bounds and speak on behalf of a Vice Chancellor's area that is not my responsibility. but hiring does fall within finance and administration. So I'll respond to your question as it relates to the general hiring process. One, Dr. Graham has made it very clear to everybody who sits on the council that we are to examine our areas to determine where we need additional staffing. So I have to believe that that is being done in enrollment management. Once that assessment is done, then it will go to Dr. Graham to say, Dr. Graham, this is where we're short, this is how we need to move, this is how we need to grow to improve the student experience. And I believe he's going to say, all right, let's go get that done. Then it will be on that vice chancellor or any of us in our respective areas to then go through the hiring process, which is one, identification of the funds to make sure that we can pay those people. Two, posting the jobs for individuals to apply, creating a committee to review the applicants that they come in, and then interviewing the applicants once there is an applicant pool, then making the official hire. So as soon as the department can post the position, and I do believe there are posts that are already out there for financial aid, then as quickly as they have a quality applicant pool, that will allow them to move. But what I hear from you, President Wallace, is that not only do you all see the short staffing and feel the impacts, I need you to know that we see it as well. And Dr. Graham has challenged us to get it fixed and get it fixed quickly.
Thank you for that. And for the remainder of the town hall, instead of having y'all all walk up here, because ain't nobody trying to do all that, we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and take the mic off and I'll pass it around. If you do have a question at the end of each segment, you can just raise your hand and I'll get to you accordingly.
Well, since I'm already up here, I'll stay up here. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening. Thank you.
That's well. I had a question about the deregistration process. So what does the notification look like towards students? So once I'm dropped from that class or I need to pay my balance or whatever the case may be, how am I going to know that? What does that look like?
So you are about to get sick and tired of communication from us. So when this proposal was presented at the Executive Cabinet meeting on November 4th, we talked about what the engagements, and that's the communication word for Workday, is going to look like. So one, you're going to get emails from Workday letting you know what has happened regarding you being removed from your classes and outlining what you can do to get re-enrolled in your classes. Then for students who do not regularly check their emails, there will be calling campaigns, there will be social media campaigns, there will be town hall conversations, all of those things to help students know. Push from your advisors and reminders, student success counselors, whole nine, reaching out to students to let them know those 3 critical dates, where they fall within those dates, and how to ensure that they can remain an active student on this campus. And if you have some suggestions of things that we can do or ways in which we can communicate to students so that they hear us, we need to know that as well.
I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so my question is, basically, how did we get here? I think a very important part of this conversation that we're having, because I know some students have already mentioned to me how the information about these processes, in particular these purges, seems maybe even harsh to some people. So in regard to how the fact over the past several years, the university has been helping students with balances in regard to HERT funds and things of that nature, I think it's important to share with the students how we got to where we are now in regard to the purges and what's changed.
Thank you for the statement, which really, he didn't ask the question, but he hit on some very high points. So for a period of maybe 2020 through 2024, the university received HERT funds, money from the government that was tied to COVID, that we could post to student accounts to cover their balances. So with those funds being available to assist students, it was determined by the administration to not drop students. Well now, as Mr. Glover has indicated, there's no more HERF money. So that means there's no more money for the institution to be able to assist you in covering your balances. So that means we have to have an accurate picture of what the university's finances are so that we can conduct the business of the institution. And in order to do that, students have to be responsible for their balances. So in a medical terminology, when you go to the doctor's office, they expect you to pay your copay before you see anybody. They won't even let you in the back to have a conversation until they have collected your copay. Well, we are trying to do something similar to that. We are trying to ensure that you have the finances in place to cover your university-related expenses as you take your classes during the semester. And so that's how we got to where we are, and that's why we're trying to make sure that students understand the importance of making payment arrangements for their classes. And I will say this as it relates to payment arrangements. We have an opportunity for students to set up a payment plan for zero money down. It opened for the spring semester November 15th. And so if you are pre-registering, go ahead and set up the payment plan. It costs you nothing. And you get 4 months to pay off your total balance for your charges. Now, when you decide to wait and set up your payment plan in January, then you're going to have to pay 25% down. But then you only get 3 periods to make your payment. So because I know we're dealing with an educated group of individuals, you heard the importance of setting up a payment plan and paying nothing down and having 4 months to pay it out. So bet on that. Put your money there.
We got time for just one more question.
I see my student right here. Go ahead.
Should I say my name?
Sure, tell me your name.
My name is Monica, and really the main problems that I have are really residential life.
So, DeMonica, we're going to get your question when the segment takes place on residential life. We'll make sure we circle to you.
Good evening, Dr. Martin. Thank you for being here.
Sorry.
My name is Lyric Perry. I'm a senior student athlete here. Kind of bouncing back, my first question that I have for you with the payment plan would be, this year my student account wasn't correct until maybe last month. So like setting up a payment plan, I know like to get registered for classes and everything, I have a really big struggle with that, getting registered on time with my pre-register being a student athlete. How do you want us setting up payment plans if our stuff is not correct? Where do we need to go with that? Also, with me realizing that my stuff wasn't right, I noticed an increase in all of the fees except for the athletic fees, so I was just wondering why that was. And my last question has to do with out-of-state tuition with student athletes. I was receiving a waiver, an out-of-state waiver, and then I wasn't receiving an out-of-state waiver, and I was told that was due because I live off campus. However, I have a 4.0, I get good grades, I'm on athletic scholarship, so why are we only giving out-of-state waivers to people who are living on campus?
Sure. Thank you for your multi-pronged question. All right, let me see. We're going to start with scholarships as it relates to out-of-state tuition. So, as a part of the parameters for scholarships, we instituted certain rules. One of the rules for student athletes to be able to receive in-state tuition was that you must live on campus. That was one of the ground rules to that happening. So students who chose to move off campus made a determination to relinquish that waiver. That's the answer to the question. Your facial expression tells me that you don't like the answer, and that's okay. But I'll come back to you. But I wanted to give you the why behind it. That's the why. Number two, as it relates to charges, the institution, UAPB, every other University of Arkansas school has an opportunity to present its proposed charges to the Board of Trustees in May of each year. Once those charges are approved, then those charges go into effect for the next academic year. So there was an increase to student fees as it relates, and no, we did not increase the athletic fee, but we did increase other student fees for like transportation. You all have seen gas prices. You know gas prices have increased, and so as we are running shuttles, then we instituted certain increases to certain fees to be able to cover the increases that we are seeing as it relates to the economy. And then your first question, tied to incorrect information on your student account. So depending upon the type of incorrect information on your student account, that will dictate where you go for assistance. So if you are missing internal scholarships, that's when you go to student financial services. When you are missing something that is an external award that should come into the institution for your behalf, then you would have to have that conversation with Ms. Totten. But what I would like for you to do is let's touch base after the conversation. So let's figure out where the gap was, and then we can figure out how to make sure that you don't see that again. But to everybody who is experiencing an issue with incorrect information on your account, if you see something, say something. And the people that you say something to should be able to direct you to the proper point of contact.
All right, that's all for our questions for our segment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
With that segment being over, we will now have the importance of earning 15 credit hours. That will be hosted by my vice president, and Dr. Andrea Stewart, our provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs, as well as Dean Dorsey.
Good evening, Provost Stewart and Dean Dorsey, and good evening, everyone else. My name is Maya Flint. I currently serve as the Student Government Association Executive Vice President.
Hi, everybody. My name is Myla Ellis. I serve as our secretary.
And we're going to be asking Provost Stewart and Dean Dorsey a few questions about the importance of registering for 15 credit hours and earning those 15 credit hours per semester, and managing our time wisely by investing in personal and professional growth here at UAPB. So, Provost Stewart, can you help us understand why it is important, from your vantage point, for students to register for and earn 15 credit hours every semester, and what are the potential implications if we do not earn those 15 credit hours every term?
Good evening, everyone. It's important for students to register for 15 hours every semester because you will finish 4 and no more. You've heard that consistently, 4 and no more. So if you're taking 15 hours per semester, so you have 30 hours per year, that would total up to 120 credit hours. If you do not take 15 hours per semester, you're going to end up in classes and in school for 6 years or longer. And it's going to have a negative impact as far as financial aid because you won't have the financial resources after you complete those hours, as well as your scholarships. There are some scholarships that require that students enroll in 15 credit hours, institutional scholarships as well as some of the private scholarships. So that's going to be an impact as well. So think about it. You finish in 4 years, you can go on and work on your master's, start working versus staying in school 6 years and incurring additional debt like housing, gas. So you want to finish in 4 and no more.
So my next question, we really want to touch on this because I personally know plenty of people that have problems with this, just simply with being uneducated and lack of knowledge. Could you touch on what happens if we earn 15 credit hours per semester, but we take classes that don't count towards our academic plan?
Wow, that is a problem. So if you take 15 hours and you end up taking a class that doesn't apply to your degree, your curriculum plan, if it's not in your curriculum plan, you will have to pay for that class yourself. So what we're trying to put in place, and I talked to Ms. Rita Conley and Student Success, and I talked to someone in financial aid, and we want to make sure that students don't end up paying for classes that they don't need, because that keeps you in school longer, again, 4 no more, and we want you to complete. So you don't want to get into that. So I talked to Ms. Willette Totten, who is also our technical service person, and we're working on making sure that there are parameters in place whereby if a student, and right now there are, if you enroll in the incorrect class and you add an additional class, we're trying to flag that class so students will know that they should not enroll in that class. Because it's not fair to the student when they want to take basket weaving or something and it doesn't apply. You can take that class, but you will have to pay for it. So we've asked academic advisors to make sure that they're looking at our curriculum plans and your degree plan very closely, and that we're sharing with students to get out in 4 years. Any extra, it's going to take you longer and you will have to pay. So we do have parameters that are in place, and we're going to make sure that those parameters are there.
And I know that previously in past years, we were able to go on the website and look at our actual curriculum plan.
Yes.
I've noticed that lately, since the website has changed, I'm not able to go and look at my curriculum plan, or it may be in a different spot that maybe we're not noticing. So could you touch on how we can find our curriculum plan without needing our advisor's help, especially if we register on our own and things like that?
Okay. We are working on the website and the curriculum plans to be updated, because that was a question that was posed to me just recently. So a team will be working. We have a registration team. We have a readiness team that Dr. Graham has made me chair of. So we are looking at that, and it's going to be very shortly that we'll be able to have all of the academic programs to look at the curriculum plans, and we'll be able to send out to the SGA president where you can find it, how quickly you can find it, and we're going to do that pretty quickly.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Mr. Dorsey.
Hi.
I have some questions for you.
Talk show.
Okay.
How you doing?
Okay. Yeah.
Catch the reference.
Yeah. Okay, I do. What's the reference? Okay. Dean Dorsey, we just heard from a Stewart explain why taking 15 credits per semester is important. Some students wonder how can they balance a full academic schedule with campus involvement. Can you speak on why engagement outside of the classroom is essential and what benefits students will gain academically, socially, personally when they remain involved on campus?
It's a mouthful. Restate the question part of one time.
Can you speak on why engagement outside the classroom is essential and what benefits students will gain academically, socially, personally when they remain involved on campus?
Gotcha, thank you. Campus involvement really helps with your sense of belonging to UAPB. It's not all about the academics. I would say all the time, our philosophy says that the first aim of a good college is not to teach books, but the meaning and purpose of life. And it's those interactions outside the classroom that really give you a chance to tap into the meaning and purpose of life. Aside from that, people who study college student development and career development will tell you that the work that's done outside the classroom helps make sure you graduate. It keeps you in the thick of it as you move towards graduation. Another thing is for students who probably haven't made it to the internship part of their academic journey, co-curricular opportunities like student organizations, student government association, Greek life provide you with transferable skills that's really attractive to future employers. So you may not have had an internship, but you were a secretary for SGA, so you know how to document things, you know how to plan town hall meetings and communicate with your constituents and things like that. Those are the transferable skills that you can put on a resume, so when you go into the career fair or the interviews, people like look at it as like real experience for you to be attractive in a chosen field.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you.
And for my next question is, some students are always sure how to use their free time productively once they finish their classes for the day. What advice would you give students about managing their idle time so they can strengthen their leadership skills and invest in their own growth while staying on top of their academic responsibilities?
Honestly, I would tell students that they will be what they see. And you can pretty much choose what you want to see here at UAPB. I think that the current student leaders have done a great job of being visible, valuable, and vocal in the space that they occupy. So if you find yourself on campus not sure how to get involved, you can always go to a member of the Student Government Association, the class presidents, the Royal Court, individuals who are part of the group. Like the student leaders are doing a great job being visible. But if that's not an option, relocate on the second floor of the student union in room 211. And we're there 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes till 2 o'clock the next morning. So you can always stop by. Also, along with that, making sure you're engaged digitally. We understand that the cell phone has become the new student union. So, check your Instagram, your Instagrams, whatever you're posting on TikTok, Snapchat. A lot of the flyers are being posted on those materials, but what we have to do as a campus community is do a better job of supporting everybody as much as possible. I think a lot of the student events get missed because who all over there, like everyone know, like who's all over there. Sometimes you just have to go. And when you go, you're going to connect with someone you probably haven't met before. You can't be afraid to be that first follower. You can't be the one, I'm going to go when everybody else get to know. You be the first person in the room, engage with the people organizing. They may actually give you insight on how to join a particular organization with a particular initiative. So I think you have to just take risks. Sadly, the college campus is not designed for introverts. It's not. Every activity we do, it requires you to get out of your residence hall, come out, talk to people, and we're still trying to figure out ways to engage with students who like to be by themselves. So when they did the double movie night during Upward New Student Week, I thought that was unique because students can come, watch a movie, but not necessarily talk to each other. So we're trying to make sure we have more opportunities like that. Last week we did a paint and sip with the, no, there was no sipping, but there was definitely painting. No sipping. No sipping. But I know water. Yeah. Won't get me fired.
Thank you so much.
We're live. Whoop-de-doo.
No sipping, y'all.
So we are looking at understanding that not all students want to talk to each other. That's real. So that level of engagement has been different. One thing I am very proud of is the number of intramural activities that I've seen on campus this semester, from kickball to dodgeball to basketball. Everyone seems to be getting engaged and getting involved.
Thank you so much. Y'all give a hand for Dean Dorsey and Provost Stewart. At this time, we would like to allow a few more questions from the audience regarding this segment about the importance of getting 15 credit hours and the campus involvement and how you can get involved and stay involved.
Mr. Ramos? Yeah, how y'all doing? My name is Jermaine Ramos, Department of Student Involvement and Leadership. I have two questions. One is for Dean Dorsey, and the other one is for Provost Stewart. I'm going to start with Dean Dorsey. Dean Dorsey, what is your long-term vision for student involvement and leadership, and how can the students help cultivate the dream?
My long-term vision?
Yes.
I would have to say long-term vision for me right now, and I don't have a very polished answer to say this, so I'm just going to say how I say
That's
this.
fine.
When I returned to the university in 2021, I only had 2 challenges, and it was the same thing, to wake the students up. I think coming out of the pandemic, students didn't know how to be college students. Students were still asking me to do things that I shouldn't really have to give you permission to do. I only give you permission to have fun. But now that we're a couple of years, almost 4.5 years from the pandemic, I can see students truly enjoying campus life the way that it should be enjoyed. I think some of the best events that I've attended have been events led by students. or events led by students with a strong advisor support. One would be the Pop the Balloon event that Critical Purpose had last semester, was pretty cool. And then I remember approving a 100 house, but then I forgot I approved the 100 house. And I was in the parking lot, and like, where is that music coming from? Like, I just started laughing. But I saw it in the Woodard Hall, there was a whole 100 house going on. So those type of activities were great. Where I'm failing at this current time, I still don't think the students are awake politically outside of what goes on here on the boundaries of UAPB. I think students have to be involved more with what's going on locally within the city of Pine Bluff, but also what's going on within the state and also what's going on within the nation. The date after Roe v. Wade was overturned, nobody was mad. No one said a thing. So for me, is how do I challenge students? Yeah, let's have fun. Let's have a good time. Let's have a turn-up experience. But also, how are we being visual, vocal, and valuing every space that we're occupying? So my long-term vision for student involvement and leadership is to make sure that our students are having a great time, but when things are going on outside the world and impacts what's going on this campus, they're vocal in those ways too. Thank you.
That sounds very refined to me. Well, thank you, Provost Stewart. This is a little crazy, but let's go there. We have this new motto, for or no more. So how does the education department align with that? And most of our students have been coming to me saying that they are about to graduate and they have to add another year onto it, or they have to add 2 years. So, can you shed some light on that, and how can we recruit students in a time frame like that when schools are already offering accelerated programs, 4-year programs, and we're offering 5-6-year education programs?
I said earlier that we have teams that we have together, like a registration team and a readiness team. So we are looking at just that. We're looking at ways that we can make sure that our students are on target, not actually meeting with those students on a regular basis. We will have forums. I'm meeting with the deans like once a month. I meet with the academic chairpersons twice a month. We are meeting across disciplines, within disciplines, to make sure our students are actually on time and on target with their academic programs. Academic advising is very important, so we do have a team that's going to look at the academic advising, and I'm making sure that the deans put on their agenda. So whatever happens from the cabinet level goes down to the vice chancellor, goes to the deans, goes to the chairs, and goes to the faculty. So every meeting we're talking about academic advising and making sure that students are advised accurately, and when there's a problem, what do we do to solve them? And I can tell you, I work very closely with athletics. I'll spend the weekend, and they'll tell you, Brent Summer called me about a student issue, and I work Friday night, Saturday, working on student issues. So I'm a provost vice chancellor. There's no limit to the time that we spend and stay up to make sure students get out of class on time. And anybody that knows me, I am pro-student, and I tell faculty members, if your syllabus, your course syllabus is not correct, and you don't have the assignments clear, and students don't know what the expectations are, I side with the students every time. Because it's up to us to make sure that we are presenting curriculum and courses, and students can get out on time. So feel free to come by my office. We are working to make sure that students get in and get out if there's a problem.
I didn't answer the second part of the question. The second part was, how can students help? And that's simply by continuing to have the conversation. I try to make myself accessible and available as much as possible, so I know exactly what's for lunch and dinner most nights. But having that conversation, telling me what you want to see, what you want to do, and then let's figuring out how we can get it done. That's probably the best way to work collaboratively with that shared vision.
Thank you. With that being said, we will have room for 2 more questions before we move on to the next segment.
How y'all doing? I'm Aaron Bell. I'm currently a freshman here at the university. And my question is, I know students like me, I plan on double majoring, and your motto is for no more? Okay. And I know currently the limit is 18 credits. So for people like me who want to seek multiple degrees at the same time, do we just have to bite that bullet and stay here an extra semester, or take summer classes?
Summer classes is key, and I forgot to say that when we say 4 and no more. If you get off track, you can enroll in summer classes. And we are working very hard to get online classes offered in the summer. So that's one of the plans we have, is to offer more online classes. We had maybe 200 and some students enrolled in the summer. That's just unacceptable. So we know students work, we know students have full-time jobs and other obligations. And going back to you having a double major, we have a student just in that situation where he's majoring in chemistry and nursing. And we have worked to make an exception to allow that student to take 24 hours. We don't do that often. It was an exception. Dr. Graham and I really looked at that student's curriculum and his abilities. He made 4.0 the semester prior with a chemistry major and nursing major. So it's like we look at students individually. So as you come forward, we will look at your abilities, your grade point average, and to make sure that we feel you can be successful and provide that support. But we will make an exception if we know that you can do it.
Thank you, Provost Stewart. We're going to have time for one more question. Chance.
Hello, y'all. My name is Cornelia Watts. I am a senior, and I'm also a student athlete. I don't have the whole question fully formed, but it is mainly regarding the professor evaluations. One, the time frame that it is sent out to us, like a few weeks after midterm. Why is it sent out that early when the semester is not done just yet? Because I feel like our perspective and experience with our professors can change, especially leading up to finals week. And two, with the, I guess, like, quality of our professors, like our experience, how is that actually taken into, how is that qualified, I guess, like, I forget the word, I'm sorry, taken into account. Thank you so much. Because I feel like there are some students, just like from having different conversations, our experiences with professors, especially one-to-one, can be like demeaning or disrespectful in some way, shape, or form, and our perspectives aren't taken into account. So how is that going to be, you know what I'm saying, assessed and reevaluated? Thank you.
Well, it's not this segment, but I will take the opportunity to answer a little bit. With the evaluations being at the time they are, it's the time frame that it takes to get those results calculated, but you always have an opportunity to give an evaluation of a faculty member at any given time to the provost's office. So if you have any students who have any concerns or issues beyond the evaluation, please feel free to bring them forward to my office. And a lot of times it goes straight to the chancellor, Dr. Brigham. He would send them back to me, or we'll work on them together. But feel free to, anytime you have an issue, send them forward. I'm in administration building, room 207. I'm 213, but 207. But feel free.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you guys for your questions. Don't forget that if you do have any other questions, there is going to be an open-ended segment at the end if you have any other questions. So give it up for Dean Dorsey and Provost Stewart one more time, guys. We're going to go ahead and transition to our next section.
For our next segment, we will have a conversation with campus safety and enhancements with residential life. And that will be featuring Mr. Davis, Mr. Ellis, Vice Chancellor, the Student Affairs, and Mr. Ralph Bowman, the Dean of Student Life.
Good evening. How is everyone doing? I hope you are all still enthused and involved. My name is Elizabeth Smith. I am a third-year criminal justice pre-law major. I serve as the Executive Student Government Association's Chief of Staff. I am here with Vice Chancellor Bennett and Dean Owens. Please give them a hand. In this segment, we are going to maintain a focus on campus safety and residential life concerns. At this time, I'll go ahead and start my question off with Vice Chancellor Bennett. Vice Chancellor Bennett, several members of SGA and several members of the university's leadership team participated in an evening campus walk about 2 months ago. We pointed out safety concerns like poor lighting and lack of operational surveillance cameras. Can you please provide the students with an update on what has occurred to address these issues since our last campus walk?
Thank you, Ms. Smith. We had fun that evening. Yes, we have, I guess, been working quite a bit on that. Those students who, if you came out here tonight, and if you look across campus, you saw a difference in the lighting, correct? You saw a real difference, and we want to thank the team that worked on the lighting for us. And also, since our last meeting, we've been working on campus security, I guess, for probably we started doing the summer back here in August, anticipating students coming. And we started meeting with a group of professionals that work with the surveillance system. And even prior to that, our facilities team and procurement and chief of police, we were able to, I guess, hire a company to come in and put the lighting, not the lighting, but the security system in. And it's very time consuming. And it's probably about a year and a half or 2 years because they have to come down and do an architectural rendering of every building on campus. And it took them a while to finish that process. And after that, we had to bid it, and that's probably at least a 6-week or 2-month process to let the bids out and have the interview and select the company. And then once that was done, and then it takes another 4 to 6 weeks lead time, and in fact, it drove me crazy. And so I got, I guess, notification from, I think it was Miss Lewis, or it could have been Mr. Pridget, that Mr. Bennett, the surveillance system for all of the residential halls will be completed on December the 15th. And this was a long process. We started working on that, it looked like about 3 years ago. And so that's done. We had another company to come down, and we sort of struggled with having incidents on campus. And I want to thank Pine Bluff Police Department for meeting with our students. Pine Bluff Police Department, I think they had 2 sessions with our student athletes, and they was, hey, what's going on? And they were, the sheriff department, police department, they wanted to make sure that our students at UAPB had the kind of homecoming experience that they really deserve. But some of you that may not know, this was the first homecoming in about 4 years or 5 years that we did not have an incident in our city during this time for a loss of life. The first time. I want to thank Chief Jordan and his team, the sheriff department, and they did everything. And we even had meetings with the band. And I was teasing Mr. Owens and Mr. Dorsey when they went to meet with the band, I think about 2 or 3 times, to talk to them about campus safety. And Mr. Dorsey joked, he said, boy, they're looking up at the deans wondering what they did wrong. We just want to let them know you didn't do anything wrong. We just want to give you some information to help you keep yourself safe during homecoming. And we had a company come in. They want to make a presentation to the cabinet November the 25th. And I talked with Chief Jordan, I think this morning, after the security firm that's going to come and make the presentation to the cabinet. And what this would entail, Ms. Smith, is if you notice, you see some old call boxes on the wall. That does not work, right? That doesn't work. And so they did a survey of the campus, and they're going to make a presentation to the cabinet. And then in turn, that same day, I asked Chief Jordan if he would get with Mr. Dorsey and arrange a setting that day for them to make the presentation to our student leadership, where I think there's 15 spots that we identified on campus, the spaces, where if a student is in trouble, they can just touch the call box. The light will come on, the cameras will come on, and you can talk to the operator. And this will help keep our students safe. And they're going to put them in this area where students travel. And also the weapon detection system. Ms. Lewis called me last week, I think Thursday or Friday, and she said, Mr. Bennett, General Counsel Office gave us permission to proceed with purchasing the weapon detection system for our campus. And what this will allow us to do when we have brick shows, basketball games, and any event on campus. Those of you who went to the brick show this past homecoming and the football game, it was just a seamless entry into the facility. And this will prevent them to detect any weapon, knife, or anything that someone may have on their person. And those are the kinds of things, Ms. Smith, that we're doing to help keep the campus safe. Then one other thing, if you notice, we have about 21 points of entry into the UAPB campus, 21 gates that you can enter into the university property. And only one of those are controlled. And we know that's an issue, and we're going to work to try to do something about that so that we can have more control. And also, since our campus is so open, I think there's 4 main entries that come into the campus. We're looking at having cameras at each one of those entry spots where we can take pictures of the license plates and everything to be able to trace and identify those individuals that may drive through our campus. And working with the mayor's office to make sure that we have more no parking signs on LA Prexy Drive. If you came to the STEM building tonight, you probably saw a car or 2 parked in front of Hunt Hall and other places. And, you know, we want to make sure that we prevent that from happening.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Bennett. That was wonderful. I'm going to direct my next question to Dean Owens. Students have raised concerns about residential life, from current visitation policies to the responsiveness of maintenance. Can you just go ahead and touch on how the housing and residential life is addressing these issues, and also what changes can students expect that will balance community building and a better overall experience in residential life?
So we're going to start with visitation. So visitation pre-COVID, the times on Fridays and Saturdays, students were able to visit until 2 a.m. in the morning. Yes, they were. And when COVID came, and then also you heard Vice Chancellor Bennett talk about the incidents that we were having in the city during homecoming. And so we had several of those, and so we scaled back on visitations because we were trying to keep the students safe. And we also knew that our cameras weren't working properly, so we didn't want any individual that were not students visiting, because we needed to know who was always in the facility. And so now, since we are getting ready to get our cameras and they're getting ready to go live. We can go back to having visitation 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. And so I want to say this. Just listen. I want to say this. Student government is the driving force behind visitation. Okay? Let me finish. And if you, like I say, if you want to see change, that's where you start. They can make change. The Student Senate can make change. And so if you want to see something a little bit different, but that's where we're going to start right now. And I think that's a good start for that. I know maintenance, we have issues with maintenance. But what I am going to say, how many of y'all actually use the QR code to do your maintenance request? Good. So those QR codes are posted in all facilities. We ask our students to utilize those. The reason why we ask you all to utilize those is because I can see them, the office can see them, the coordinators can see them, so that when they come through, we're able to send them to facilities management so that we can get those taken care of. I have assigned a staff member now to monitor those so that they'll be able to see them come through as well, and we can address them a little bit faster. I know sometimes it seems like it's a little slow, but believe me, we're going to do better with that. We're going to also install some monitors in our residence hall so that we can make sure that if something is that needs to be repaired, those monitors, we'll be able to put them on those monitors because it's very important for us to be able to get the information. And we already have group meetings in the residence halls amongst the students, and so we're going to start sending more of that out when we know we're going to have downtime as far as maintenance in those areas. And so that's where we are.
Thank you. I'm very appreciative of both of the communication between the efforts of your respectful departments. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for questions.
And just remember, if we do not get to you right now, there will still be plenty of time for y'all to address it. I can't. Like, chill.
Serious question.
Yeah. So you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, about visitation. But, and you were there, but just weren't all the way there. I don't understand the 5 o'clock rule.
Okay.
Really? The 2 a.m. thing, but at the same time, I feel like it should be 24/7. As everybody in here is an adult, everybody in here is responsible for their own, well-being, whether they go to class, whether they get pregnant, whatever they do. There's tea clubs to help out with all of that, so they have resources. There's options, there's ways, and it's really everybody's responsibility here.
Okay.
And the whole point of this college, college experience is to teach people about being responsible in life and going through that and being responsible. And if you just, give them a crutch to stand on, then you're just crippling them, not really giving them a way to get there.
Okay. So, let me start here. So, what happened and how it starts. Student Government Association does a poll for the students. And so what that does is they allow all students to give their input on about visitation. And so at the last one we had, the students, they all voted, they voted certain times. SGA created a bill, gave it to the Senate, Senate voted on it, and sent it up to the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. So that's how I got started. And with the 24 hours a day, that came up then. But the students at that time felt like that it wasn't a good thing because they want to go to sleep. And their roommates might have someone or some company in the room and they want to go to sleep. Or they might want to study or some things like that. So those things were addressed back then. It was like, I think 2018, 19 when they went, when the 2 a.m. went into effect. So,
On behalf of student leadership, real quick, I just kind of also want to touch on that and help with that. So like he said, the primitive way that this kind of goes about is your communication with student government. So while we do have representatives of student government here, I do also want to just emphasize that if there is an entity in which we would like to say, hey, I want this advocated for, I want this advocated for, you do have a diligent group of class representatives and executive representatives that will aid you in not only voicing your opinion, but also, like he said, the students pass it. The student senate is what helps bring that to the vice chancellor. So I will say, I implore you to utilize those resources. Speaking of utilizing your resources as an entity of T-Club, I will say T-Club is also very diligently involved in your say-so, but we also employ you to be responsible with yourselves. That does not just mean in the ways that T-Club would help you, but it also does mean as students and responsibility. Because if you have a guest at all times of the day, when are you going to class? When are you going to the CAF? When are you at the Office of Environmental Leadership? That kind of thing.
Also, area here, I think we also have to go through phases with visitation, which is the conversations that we're having. If you've heard so far, one of the main things that we're going through right now is safety. We know that there's houses behind the Earl Complex, so we need to make sure that those areas are made sure that there are cameras and also that it's light. And then we also have to make sure with the new system, if you've seen that all across campus, the doors are being replaced. Because eventually we'll move to a cardless system on your phone. Hopefully that's still the plan, for you to be able to enter and access, buildings and things like that. So eventually, that's a conversation. Right now, I don't think that visitation as your SGA president we should keep the 5 o'clock, 5 to 12 on the weekdays. That's just to make sure that we're staying focused, because the main reason we're here is to get an education. Now, on weekends, you can do as you please. And that's the conversation that we're trying to make sure that we have. While we're allowing visitation for these long hours, we also have to make sure that residential assistance is there and getting the assistance that they need to make sure everybody is safe while we're allowing to visit our peers.
Thank you, President Wallace. We'll go ahead and refer to another question now.
Okay, during the segment, we will have time for 2 more questions. But you're going to be able to ask your questions during the open-ended segment, so chill out.
Hi, my name is Mason Smith. I'm the senior class president here at the university, and I do have a couple questions. So for my first question, it was about the connection in the dorm rooms, as well as like the Wi-Fi and what we're doing to solve those issues, because a lot of my peers and friends, including myself as well, are not able to connect to the Wi-Fi and have to use my personal hotspot most of the time. But I know not a lot of people have access to those resources. So I was wondering, what would be the time frame on, better connection with the Wi-Fi? And then as well, I had another question on behalf of my friend. She wanted to know what was being done about the living conditions at the Delta, as far as the mold and whatnot. But yes, those are my questions. Thank you.
okay. So I would, as Wi-Fi, I have to yield to this type. Like I said, I don't. Oh, yeah, she is here. She's here, but let me ask the other question. Back Delta. Ms. Benz, you want me to do that? Okay.
Okay, that was a good question, and thank you, President Wallace and Ms. Smith, for supporting the health and safety. Before I answer that question, I do want to tell you, ask the students for their help. My main goal is to keep students safe. When I meet parents, when they bring their students here in August, I vow to them that the university would do everything to make sure that their young people are safe. And I need your help. I have too many of our students who propping doors open in the buildings that's creating an unsafe atmosphere. Even some of the classroom facilities, the buildings like Caldwell Hall, the Fine Arts Building, Kane Gillian, every night we find doors propped open. And I wear out Chief Jordan's cell phone, having him to go have someone to relock the doors or close the doors. Many nights, Mr. Dorsey and Mr. Owens will take a tour of the campus before they go home, sometime 9, 10 o'clock at night, and call me and say, Mr. Bennett, the doors are open. They are propped open, so I need your help. And also, for whatever reasons, some of our students choose to take plastic bags and tape them around the smoke detectors in the rooms. Too many of that, too much of that. And I need your help. I really do. And so please help us keep you safe. Help us keep you safe. And I think if the question was about the moisture that's in Delta 1, you know, I agonize over
Delta
that.
2.
No, Delta 1. It's Delta 1.
Delta 1.
And sometimes it make me use some words that they say deacons shouldn't use. When I look at how much money we spent to try to eradicate that problem. We spent, Mr. Owens told me, we took Delta 1, part of it, offline for almost a whole year. And those contractors went in and they removed the sheetrock in those buildings. They took 4 suites away from us, like that's, 16 beds. And then we put in a whole new HVAC system that they said we need. And when we opened that building up, I'm all excited, want to give the new chancellor a tour of the facility. And I've never been so embarrassed in my life. The first hallway we went in, the vent was blowing. That heat had to be about 95 degrees. 95 degrees. And I opened the door to go look where the restroom facilities, and I could see mold and mildew spores. And we have spent a lot of money. I don't know the exact amount, but we spent a lot of money trying to make things ready and great for our students. And not only did we spend money on the repairs, we spent money renting facilities, the Piney Woods, renting extra rooms so that our students will have a good place to stay. And so I feel your pain, I really do. And I'm mad as heck about that has not been corrected. And I'll continue to work to see that those contractors, if they can correct it, that we don't use them again. And I apologize for that. And I know a question is some of you probably received a note or email or a text from Residential Life last week or maybe this week. And so we may as well go ahead and address the elephant in the room. We are concerned about the moisture that might develop during the Christmas holidays, with the facilities being closed for 2 to 3 weeks. And so we did send a message out, a notification to our students. That's one thing that I believe in being totally transparent, to let you know that there is a possibility. I cannot guarantee that if you leave your clothing there that moisture may not develop on them. And giving you an opportunity, if you want to move some of those items between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you know, the choice is yours. And if you choose not to, just sign a form saying that you did have an opportunity to move your belongings. Because I would much rather do that than you come back from the Christmas break and have your 100 pair of Jordans have moisture on them. And so that's, hopefully I answered your question about the moisture or mildew that might be on them. And let me tell you about our staff. And Miss Polly probably don't mind me calling her name. Miss Polly is a jewel. She will come out and try to do whatever she can to eradicate that. When you get it on, you know, on your items, she come out and she does everything she can to take care of it. Mr. Owens, I'll let you answer the other question. We're good.
Okay, at this time, per Chancellor Graham, so y'all ain't mad at me, we will be ending this question segment. However, for the third time, for the final segment, it will be an open-ended time for you guys to be able to engage in dialogue about some topics I'm sure you guys are passionate about. So with that being said, we thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Chance. So at this point, because we do want to be mindful of time, we told you we would wrap by 7:30, we're at 7:35, so we want to be mindful of time, but I do want to spend some time opening the floor so that we can hear from you about issues that we may have discussed this evening, or other issues that may be top of mind. Where I want to start, though, is there was a question raised about Wi-Fi connectivity in the residence halls. So I want to make certain that I give Mrs. Willette Totten an opportunity to speak to the Wi-Fi connectivity across the campus and what we're doing in that space.
Good evening. And to the Wi-Fi question, of course, Wi-Fi is not 100%. We do have dead spots. So what we ask that you do, if you encounter a Wi-Fi issue, report it to the dorm, whoever's at the desk, so that they can put in a request, and we will come and immediately address what the issue may be. Okay? That work. Thank you.
Okay, without further ado, we will begin our last segment.
The last segment we'll have is the open-ended conversation and questions. So now this is just a general conversation that we're getting ready to have with any other questions from faculty, staff, administration, and I can see we already have one. And we'll start with Ms. Bender.
And what I would ask, I really want to make sure that we defer to the students as much as possible, because this is their time. So I want to make sure they have first dibs.
No, hold on. I think you got the mic. It's not a question. Just real quick, I just wanted to be devil's advocate for you guys. I understand the visitation and all. I just wanted to say, does your mother and father allow you to have visitation 24/7 with this office? 24/7. Our mothers and fathers don't. So just think about that. They're doing the best they can for you guys to enjoy yourselves. So just think about that and focus on your studies and such. That's all I would say. Have patience.
Comment received. But we do want to make certain that we're hearing from students about what it is you desire, and then we'll bring that through the proper channels to make decisions about it. All right.
Hey y'all, my name is Patience. I'm a sophomore at the university, and I just had a question pertaining to like running businesses on campus, like doing nails and hair, because I know when I took my first high school tour here, they were saying that, you know, they supported all that it was allowed, and then now I feel like most people be like, it's not allowed, or you're not allowed to do this and that, and yeah, that you can like do hair, do nails, but like I said, they said it was supported when I took it.
It's a good question. As a matter of fact, it's something we had a conversation about last week. One of the things that we need to do a better job of is creating opportunities for you to be entrepreneurs. You all are doing a lot of what I did when I was in college. I used to cut hair in the residence office. I would make a killing over the weekends, cutting hair. But then someone told me, you do realize you can be sued if you do something wrong because you don't have a license to do that work. Right? We should not be operating formal businesses out of the residence halls. Now, what we should do is create venues and opportunities for you to learn how to do your formal business in a certified LLC type of way, and then create avenues and spaces for you to operate wherever those might be on the campus in an official capacity. So that's the work that we have to engage in as administrators, as faculty, as staff, to try to help invest in your dreams and then take it a step farther. How do we help you develop business plans so that you can now earn capital so that when you graduate, you now have a business full-fledged that you can operate, manage, and run? We've got to do a better job investing in you and creating those opportunities. That's the work that we'll be doing.
One thing I can also say about student businesses is that student government, and with any class and organization, I know Marnisha Hendricks, she is a huge advocate of making sure that we have, what's those things called, like pop-up shops. That's been a good thing I think UAPB has, is making sure that students are able to show voice, make sure we can taste their brands, see their brands, wear their brands. I think most recently, the AKAs did a pop-up shop in the Lions Den where students were able to showcase their. I also ask that we just do a better communication with pop-up shops so that we can make sure faculty, staff, the people that actually have the dollar, can actually support us as students.
Hi, my name is Heidi Price. I'm an animal science major, and I first would like to express my gratitude for you guys doing this today. I think it's really important for there to be avenues where you can ask questions. My question is regarding residential life, and I know that they did touch on it, but I just would like to kind of get a clarification on, we did receive those forms that we would have to move our stuff out of the dorms, but you just said that there might be an opt-out form, so do we just need to get with the person in charge, or?
Yes, ma'am. Just what we're going to do is we're going to place the forms at the desk area so y'all can fill them out and then they'll send them to the office.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, my name is Mark Foster. I'm a mass communication major. I got a couple questions, but I'm gonna hit on one, and I'm just, switch out. But with the mass communication, like with the podcast, for the library and stuff like that. So the one thing you said earlier was you're trying to get folks ahead. So I seen that they had equipment for like weather forecasting, and that's exactly what I want to do. But it's a thing you have to sign to that you have to sign, not me. But it's a thing that the staff had to sign all together to make sure it was like legal and things like that, I guess. And I've been asking that since the summer of last year, actually. And that nothing has seemed to be changing around and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, first, how long it's going to take, and then two, what could I do to go ahead and get ahead so whenever it can happen, I can get experience and I can have it on my resume.
It's a great question. I need to investigate that specific situation because I'm not familiar with what the forms are that you need to check out and all of that. Two things that I would say. What we're trying to do is become a more efficient operation. So how do we do these things more efficiently? Is it really necessary for the chancellor to sign a form for someone to check something out in the library? What's the rationale for that? I'm not saying it's not, but we need to make certain that there's a rationale for it. And if there's no rationale for it, let's stop doing it. We do a lot of stuff that we've always done that we don't have to keep doing. But we have to question whether or not it makes sense. All right, so that's number one. Number two, we do want to make certain that we're creating more opportunities for you all, as I just said, to be entrepreneurs. We want you to have access to podcasts. We want you to have access to television camera materials. We want you to have access to studios and so forth. You're talented and skilled. We want you to develop that talent and skill, and it's our job to create the avenues to do so in a way that's efficient, reasonable, safe, and so forth. So I'll look into this specific issue around the library, podcast, and the forums and those types of things, and see if we can speed up the way in which we do this. And the other thing is, let's use technology. Why are we doing paper forms? It's 2025. We should be able to do things quickly, efficiently, using technology. So we're going to get better in all these spaces, I promise you. President Wallace, anything you want to add to that, sir?
One of the issues that was brought up today by our co-advisor, Mr. Ramos, is making sure that we let the student body know about our office hours. So if you do have any comments, questions, concerns, complaints, Wednesday is 2:45 to 4 o'clock, or anytime you see the first door open that leads into the second door. If those two doors are open, I'm normally in my office, and I'm free to talk to anybody, because like Dorsey said, sometimes I'm in there to 9, 10 o'clock at night doing student government work, so yeah.
Good evening, my name is Marnika Carlock. I'm a senior here majoring in criminal justice, and I want to touch bases on quite a few issues. So we're going to be a minute.
We're going to give you one or two issues. We want to be democratic, but we want to hear from you. But I want to make certain that we're giving other people an opportunity to speak as well. So please ask your...
Do your first one, and let's get to it.
Move on.
Now, before we go here, I want to make certain that we give you the opportunity to pose your question or two. I just want to make certain that we're being fair so that everyone has an opportunity to speak and share.
I would like to hear your question.
Same here. Thank you.
My first question, I wanted to go back to the situation in the dormitory. I don't think y'all know how important and how serious the situation is with the mold. I know y'all say y'all have put a lot of money into it, but I gotta keep putting money, because whatever has been getting done, it hasn't worked, it's not enough. I recently had bronchitis from the mold. After taking all the necessary steps, reporting it, having the dean come look in my room, wipe the mold off my shoe like it was nothing, and that was it. So, and this mold has been an issue for, I know, at least 2 of the 4 years that I've been here. At least 2. In first floor, second floor, third floor. So even closing the third floor down last semester and then opening back up, that hasn't done anything, because I'm on the first floor. So
I agree with you completely. I don't know if it's because of the company with which we're contracting. I don't know what it is, but we're going to get to the root cause. It's as if we're putting Band-Aids on the problem, and we haven't been able to identify what the root cause of the problem is. Or, quite honestly, I don't know if it's the company putting Band-Aids on the problem so that they can continue to make money off us. Whatever it is, we're going to stop being taken advantage of, right? So, right now we have to kind of work through what we have, but we're looking at contracts and we're asking ourselves the question, is there a better company with which we should be contracting that can help us get to the root cause of what's causing this issue so that we can mitigate against it? Now, having said that, I do want to echo what you heard from Vice Chancellor Bennett. We need you all to help hold one another accountable. I keep hearing the word accountability thrown around. People like to say it, but they don't like to practice it. So when we did our campus walk, I was blown away by how many students were propping doors open so other students can walk through, or how many people had windows open. Those are the types of things that contribute to some of the moisture in the building. Now, there's some other things in the building that might be happening, HVAC and so forth, but there's some things we can do to prevent some of this, to some extent, from happening on a grand scale. So this doesn't excuse our need to figure out what the root cause is at a macro level, but there's some micro level things that we have to ensure we're doing that will ensure we're not contributing to the problem.
But I hear what you said, and I've received it. We're working on it. Yeah, one more. We can do one more.
For my second question, I wanted to go back to the topic of the refunds. I graduated in December. That is less than 30 days away, and I know I'm not the only senior graduating in December who balance still hasn't been cleared, yet there's a hold on my diploma, and I'm being asked to pay $116 that I owe from a summer course. But if I have my refund, it might be paid. So I just want to know, when is that going to get taken care of for the December graduates?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I will speak not to the December graduates specifically, but to students writ large. We've been able to work down the number of students who have received refunds. We still have a cadre of students that we're still working through, workday system and some of the other types of things. So we're working as quickly as we can. We have folks from the the University of Arkansas system coming onto the campus almost weekly, several times a week, to help our offices with processing and working through some of these challenges so we can get them processed as quickly as we can. So I can't stand here today and tell you a definite date by when we'll have all the refunds processed, because there are some students who have unique situations and we're having to work through those. But we're moving as quickly as we can. We've worked down, I think we started with 270 something students, and now we're down below 70 students, I believe. 15? 50, so we're down to 50 students. So we've worked those numbers down. We're working as aggressively as we can to clear those 50.
Good evening. I am Aiden Harris. I'm a freshman serving as Mr. Durr Complex for this academic school year. Speaking on behalf of my fellow students living in the Plex, what are the plans to uplift and improve our janitorial problems that we are experiencing in the Plex?
I'm going to defer to our residential staff.
I'm also going to ask that question too. I'm the devil's advocate when it comes to that. We kind of have to be, as students, we have to make sure that we're taking care of our area. One of the countless conversations that we're trying to have right now with Dean Owens is, what can we do as far as it relates to trash, smart ways that we can deal with trash on campus, not just going behind our classmates and peers and picking up their trash with, trash cleanings on campus, but actual education, and then looking into not starting all of these initiatives and things like that because it sounds so good, but when we start initiatives, how can they be impactful? And then how can you build on an initiative that you started so that it can be effective when you reintroduce it to the campus? So that's one of the ways that we're trying to work as far as campus cleanliness goes. And I do understand the frustration of sometimes waking up in the Hero Complex and all you smell is bleach. That's something that we've been trying to advocate for, but with some guidelines, there's just some of the things that they have to do in order to make sure that everything is met within a standard. And so another thing is, one of the things way back freshman year, I think that STEM, and I'll be quiet too, is we probably need to go back to understanding and educating everybody on OSHA violations, because OSHA violations will help students be able to point out things like wires and broken issues within our dormitories. So as students, we have to make sure that we're educated on where we're laying our head, the safety precautions and things like that, because we can create a check and balance system when certain things aren't met up to the standard that needs to be.
So can you repeat the question? So I make sure I get it right. Is that cleanliness? Okay.
So my question was, what are the plans to uplift and improve the janitorial problems that we're experiencing in the Plex?
Okay. So each residence hall, especially the Hero Complex, they're supposed to do bathroom checks. And I have personally been walking through the residence halls just to look, just to kind of see what's going on. What side do you stay on?
Copeland first floor.
Stay Copeland first floor. Okay. And so in the mornings, they clean. In the afternoon, they clean. But what happens is after 3 o'clock, when everybody's gone, and then all the students start to take showers and do all that, then it's not clean again until the next morning. Okay? And so what we have to figure out is what can we do between those hours from 3 to midnight so that we can kind of keep it clean so that when the individuals come in the next morning, then they get clean again. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have in housing and with the Vice Chancellor so that we can come up with a solution to that so that it won't impact you all. Okay.
Good evening, how y'all doing? My name is Sergio Turner. I'm a political science major. So my question for y'all is in regards to campus safety. So what steps are being taken in regards to improvement of dispatch response times so that all student concerns are treated seriously? And what hiring standards or qualifications are in place to ensure these officers are properly trained and prepared for such campus safety?
Good evening. How's everyone doing today? I know the first part of your question was pertaining to response time, correct? Okay. Normal response time for the police on campus is 3 to 5 minutes. And we normally try to improve that response time. Now there are times when officers are tied up on other calls. The response time might get just a little bit more. But we're working on a daily basis to improve that response time. We come down to campus safety because we want you to be safe. Can you repeat your second question, please? Now, dealing with qualifications, police officers go through an entire different process when it comes down to qualifications. We're held by state law. We're held by CLES, which is Arkansas Commission of Police Standards. So we go through an entire different process. And we have other requirements that we have to constantly go through each year. So, and we deal with those in the process for us training. I do have a training officer that we develop a training unit that keeps up with those hours. It keeps up with the officer's status. We constantly get emails. We constantly get notification. Because if we don't train, if we don't complete our hours each year, if we don't hold those standards, we're immediately shut down. So that's the one thing that we do avoid. That's the one thing that we constantly train to do. We also train our officers in different areas, active shooter, campus safety, and the list goes on. There's several classes that we train in. We work with the deans on fire drills, active shooter drills. We work with them on campus safety. We work with Dean Glover. We work with him on counseling for students. I'm not an expert in counseling. So that's when I have to go outside. I have to go to Dean Glover. I have to go somewhere else. That's the expertise in that area. But to answer your question, was trained. We are very, very well trained. The crew school is normally 20 weeks. Depending on the circumstances, it can get longer. And we try to produce a well-maintained officer, qualified and trained so that they can serve you better.
Also, the student government under the leadership of the 103rd Student Government Association, President Caleb Williams, our Chief of Staff last year, Chloe Brackens, we all had the chance to interview 4 candidates for the Chief of Police position, including our current chief right now. I have a very strong relationship, and that's also what I'm trying to do, branch off a relationship with Sergeant O'Neill. I always call him, he always answers the phone. So we are working and trying to make sure that student government does its part as it relates to campus safety. One of the conversations I also had with Dean Dorsey and Vice Chancellor Benning was about the cameras. We've seen that there's a success with those. So what does the contract look like with that? And how can we ensure that we keep that contract? Because we've seen, especially with what happened last year, how cameras played into part with handling the issues that happened during homecoming. So yeah.
So everyone knows this is Chief Tony Jordan, so I want you to know who your police chief is. We'll entertain one more question, but I want to make certain you hear this directly from me. I came in on day one asking questions about campus security and safety. There is nothing more precious to me than your well-being. So in places where we're not moving urgently enough, we're going to move faster. In places where we're not filling positions quickly enough, we're going to move faster. I would rather be overstaffed, making certain that we have more cameras and security procedures in place than not. I want to make certain that we're doing all we can and then some to make certain that you are safe every hour of the day, each and every day. I want to make certain that we're cleaning your residence halls on a regular basis so that you have a safe living and clean living environment. I'm treating you like I would treat my own children. I don't want anything less for you than I would expect from my own children. And I want the same from the leadership team with respect to you. And if we ain't doing it right, you tell me we ain't doing it right. I can't say that ebonically enough. Tell me we ain't doing it right so we can do it better. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. Okay? Final question, and then we're going to roll out of here.
Okay, hello. My name is Alora Myers. I'm a freshman at the university, majoring in computer science. And I just had a question about residential hall. I understand that we have turned on the heat, and I talked to the RAs, and they said it was because of a complaint of a parent. And I just want to understand that since this parent isn't living in the facility, why do they have such a major call on what happens in the facility? Also, another question is, with the women and how we have feminine hygiene, I was wondering if we can get larger disposables because of the buildup of trash. You know, it's a monthly thing. So I was just wondering those questions also.
So, I don't know about a parent about turning the heat on, but what happened was the degrees outside had dropped to about 25 degrees. And so when the temperature drops that low, it has to be turned on because of the pipes and things like that. So, now one beautiful thing about your system in your room, you can turn it off. Oh, it's still hot. Okay, well, I'm going to come out and visit you right there. So is it still on? Because I know when I went the other day, it seemed like it was cool. Okay, all right. Okay.
It's super hot.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this is what I do. Tomorrow I'll make a trip to Harold Complex, because I know what you're talking about. And then we'll check it out, okay? All right. So we want y'all to be comfortable. Okay. All right. Oh, and I'll take care of trash cans too. All right. I will. All right. Thank you all. We appreciate your patience, we appreciate your endurance, we appreciate your engagement and your conversation. President Wallace, I'm going to turn it over to you to close this out, sir.
All right. Again, I want to thank each and every single one of you for coming out tonight. Please give a round for yourselves for staying through. As a reminder, for the rest of this semester, student government is in the student union, room 208. Our office hours are Wednesday, 2:45 to 4 o'clock. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, complaints, compliments, anything, we're there for you. But if not, let us close out, and I will see you guys later.